I think I was maybe 13. I organized something with all my siblings, right? I decided to break the ice. I said, like, I swear to you, it was the Eid. Like, for the Eid, normally in the morning we come, we kiss my mom.
Yeah.
We never kissed my dad. And my dad would just like give us his hand. But I come from that generation.
With your dad?
We used to shake hands.
What a professional relationship.
I swear to you. I tell my sisters and brothers, okay, we're going to line up, right? We're going, no one does anything before I give orders, all right?
Were you the eldest?
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I was fifth, but I was just a troublemaker. I'm the troublemaker, right? Like, everything had to change with me. So, like, we line up. Basically, my mom and dad were sitting, okay? We come in, we say Happy Eid to my mom, and then I go first, and then I just, like, kiss my father.
Snuck it in.
Oh my God.
It's the first time in my life
That you kissed him?
that I kissed my father.
What was his reaction?
I think he was about to die.
Habibi.
From that day on,
Yeah.
our
guys would
relationship
kiss each
with
other.
my father changed.
Wow.
And we were more free to
Yeah.
touch, to kiss, to hug, something we never did before.
Yeah.
So I heard this expression, gaslighting.
Gaslighting.
What is it?
That's, it's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a form of emotional abuse that makes someone question their thoughts, their actions, their feelings, and their perception of reality.
With my father, for example, I think he finds it hard to talk about emotions. So if, say, he says something and I will say, that's hurtful, and he'll be like, that wasn't hurtful. Right. It becomes about your reaction makes you too emotional, or you're like overthinking things, or you're being dramatic. You can have the best of intentions.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have the tools.
Exactly, because my parents have the best
Yeah, our parents
intentions.
love
They
us.
love
Yeah,
me
yeah.
so much. I
Maybe
love
you
them.
should go live with Farouk and Maysa. I think you'll have a better treatment there. What do you think?
When I was young, my childhood dog died, and my parents didn't tell me. Like, the dog wasn't home anymore. And so I was thinking about this recently, and I was like, I kind of want to know what happened to the dog. So I asked my mom recently, and she was like, why do you want to talk about these things in the morning? And she just like kept on making her tea. And I left with nothing.
Wow.
I was like, how did
More
she
questions.
manage to just totally...
Bamboozled you.
Yeah, she's so good at it.
Sometimes people who have a tendency to gaslight are conditioned to like the way that they grew up, whether it's from trauma or unprocessed healing.
I remember I was talking with my dad one time about like parenting, and I was like, yeah, I feel like all parents kind of mess up their kids in some way because no one's perfect. And he was like, no, not me.
Right.
Like, he thinks he was a perfect parent, and also that his parents were perfect.
But I
like
think
that he had a perfect childhood.
I think all parents think they're really perfect. I am a parent, and I think I'm perfect.
Yeah.
But you
I
are
am perfect,
You're the
right?
one perfect
I'm
one.
really
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
So
No, I actually really think...
Let's go back to the serious stuff now.
Okay.
All right. Do you think Maysa gaslight Dina?
Straight yes.
Straight up.
But honestly, like, you think this is what she's doing?
So from my experience, it's on the milder side of gaslighting. When I was as little as first grade, Mom was like, don't talk about what happens at home and at school, right?
Yeah.
Like, there is, from such an early young age, there is so much trauma at home that we are ingrained and conditioned from childhood to keep it bottled in, to keep this, say, like, these are things that are not okay.
My mom, I remember when I was at university, I called her and it was like a couple months in, and she was like asking me like, how are things? And you don't update me and you never actually tell me stuff. And I was like, okay, I want to tell you stuff, but I'm scared to tell you stuff. So like, can I tell you stuff? Or do we just keep doing the thing where I don't tell you things? Like, I want to be honest. And like, she like paused and then she was like, let's be honest. And like, it was like this weird thing.
Floodgates open.
Where
It's
I, like,
really funny because
it worked.
Yeah.
I come from a generation where, like, I'm not friends with my mother.
Yeah.
She's a mother.
Yeah.
Did
right?
you consciously like want it to be different between you and your daughters?
I think I was conscious about
Yeah.
it. Really, like I
my
thought
mom
at
was
one
too.
stage, I cannot be my mother. I mean,
Yeah.
I love my mother, bless her soul, really. My father was like yours. He's just like the tough Arab man who just no emotions.
That conversation that Farouk has with when he leaves Maysa the voice note, and he pretends that he's making the decision because he's like honoring her, whatever. And it actually made me feel really sorry for him because he's trapped by the same patriarchal
System.
that the women are, in that he's like, I have to be the provider and I have to make all the decisions myself and I can't ask for help and I can't involve other people in like my thinking.
Yeah.
When actually it would help him, it would help her, it would help their relationship. It's something that I've observed in like my dad and in like a lot of men that I know, where I think they're not given the room to be like, yeah, I can go to therapy and that doesn't mean that I'm not fulfilling my duty.
I convinced my dad to do like a therapy session one time
That's
on his own.
groundbreaking.
What? Yeah.
Did he
But
go?
you say?
I finally did it, but it was almost only to be like, okay, I did it, and so
And you know what?
nothing
I'm
changed.
perfect.
And I think this is something that's brought up in the episode, the importance of like the culturally competent therapist or psychiatrist or provider. Because one of the most interesting things about the show, and I have to say, is that we see the harm of having a therapist that is so just ignorant and just says, oh, just divorce, just walk away, just do this. You just
Without understanding really
without
like
validating
where the
the
person comes
cultural
from and
implications,
what's like the
yeah.
background.
And on the flip side, we see Farouk put in this role almost as a therapist for this young girl who
Yeah,
needs an
absolutely.
abortion.
Yeah.
And he doesn't say any of the right things.
No.
Right.
How
But
do you do
in
that?
the same breath, just the tone and the understanding of the culture, he was able to provide more support for that young woman
yeah.
than that therapist was ever able to provide to Maysa or Dina.
Or Dina, yeah. But that brings me to think about like different experiences I lived with, like I grew up with basically, where I think there was always shame about therapy.
I think a big part of it, of like breaking the intergenerational cycles of trauma, is really like, you know, the $1 million question, like how do you do it? I think therapy is absolutely a huge part of it, but also a huge part of it is the culture. Like so much of our culture is so averse to psychology and also over relying on family networks to kind of treat and deal with mental illnesses as they arise. I think sometimes we over rely on the family.
Yeah.
Right,
Or
right.
like religion.
Yes.
Because my dad, I mean, I'm not Muslim. My parents are Coptic Orthodox. And in my dad's mind, like, if you're a good Christian,
God is therapy.
God is there. We hear this in the show.
Yeah.
And this is a form of like denial and gaslighting and everything in between. It's not rooted in reality that, you know, you can be a very God-conscious person but still have mental illness. They're not mutually exclusive. And if you look at the Islamic tradition, we have authentic traditions that have such a rich history about, you know, mindfulness and meditation that are not, you know, taking another culture and appropriating it as Islamic, but so much of it is really uncovering the history and establishing that connection that we have and our right to mental health and mental well-being.
Yeah.
So from your experience, you think Arab communities are getting better about mental illnesses?
I'm optimistic. Even in my lifetime, I've seen my parents come such a long way. And the ways that my mom just approaches, you know, our issues. We had a, you know, family issue and we talked about it. We said, what should we do? And we brought in a family counselor.
That's
Right.
amazing.
nice.
Now, when the family counselor didn't agree with my parents, it was like,
Oh,
خلاص امشي.
شكرا. You are terrible at your job.